Amazon states that a virtual private cloud enables you to launch AWS resources into a virtual network that you've defined. This virtual network closely resembles a traditional network that you'd operate in your own data center, with the benefits of using the scalable infrastructure of AWS. So what does this really mean? Well, first off, you have to understand that although the term cloud is tossed around very loosely, these networks and AWS resources actually reside on physical hardware and equipment that AWS has spread all around the globe. A VPC represents a logical piece of that network that's your very own. Think of this as if AWS owned billions of houses around the globe, and they gave you your very own house that only you could decorate or paint the way you wanted to. This takes us to our very next point, which is AWS regions. AWS has the concept of a region, which is a physical location around the world where data centers are clustered. This is the broadest geographic category that defines the physical location of their data centers. Currently, there are 30 regions dispersed worldwide across North America, South America, Europe, China, Africa, Asia Pacific, and the Middle East. And there's plans to bring on 5 more AWS regions in the near future. All regions are isolated and independent of one another, and they meet the highest levels of security, compliance, and data protection. When choosing a region for your VPCs, think of where most of the traffic will occur. So if you're in eastern part of North America and most of your consumers for the foreseeable future will request resources from that part of the world, then typically you would choose a region on the East Coast, such as Northern Virginia or Ohio, but essentially in the US East region as opposed to one that's in Asia. But within these regions, an availability zone is one or more discrete data centers that provide redundant power, networking, and connectivity in an AWS region. All availability zones are interconnected with high bandwidth, low latency networking over fully redundant, dedicated fiber that provide this high throughput and low latency. Traffic that travels between AZs is encrypted to protect the data, and AZs are physically separated by a meaningful distance, oftentimes more than 100 kilometers, to ensure that in the event of a catastrophic weather event or other emergency, that if multiple availability zones are used, customers would not incur an outage. We're gonna hop into the console here very shortly, and we're gonna create our very own VPC. All VPCs are created and exist in one and only one AWS region, but a customer can create multiple VPCs within an AWS account. Each Amazon account comes with a default VPC that's pre-configured so that you can start working immediately. But to create a VPC, there are 2 requirements. First off, every VPC must have a name. The VPC that we're going to create here is going to be named NYF Production VPC. Second, you must specify the CIDR block of the VPC, and this provides the IP ranges for resources within that VPC. We're going to configure ours with 10.200.0.0/24. So now it's time to create our very own VPC. So from the console home, let's first pause and take a look. Let's make sure that we're in the Northern Virginia region. Again, that's going to be US East 1. Okay, once you've done that, go ahead and search for VPC. And then let's go ahead and click on that. The VPC service is pretty expansive. As you can see here along the left side menu, if you scroll down, these are all the different services that are available to you. But again, we're going to start with just taking a look at the VPC. As we discussed, there is one default VPC that is created within every account. But to create our own, let's go ahead and click on Create VPC. Let's give it a name. NYF Production is the name that we said we would use. And for that CIDR block, 10.200.0.0/24. Again, leave the tenancy default and automatically a name tag is applied. And these are the only two requirements. And once we click Create VPC, you'll see here that that was successfully created. And here you just have a summary of the details that are here. So if you go ahead and click back on your VPCs, then again, we'll see that default VPC as well as our own. For the time being, we will go ahead and keep the default VPC there. As you can see in this column here, it is there. To delete that VPC, you would have to make another VPC the default VPC before you could do that option. But again, we'll leave this one for now. But congratulations on creating your very first VPC inside of AWS.